Oh, yes! My favorite magazine has arrived. MIT Technology Review. Let's turn the first page. Oh, it seems like Qualcomm has asked me a question. And I never leave a question unanswered. Hello, I'm Leo, and today I'll be talking about disruptive technology. Disruptive technology is a term coined by Clayton M. Christensen, a professor in Harvard Business School, in his best-selling book, The Innovator's Dilemma. Christensen separates new technology into two categories, sustaining and disrupting. Sustaining technology relies on incremental improvements to an already established technology, whereas disruptive technology lacks refinement, often has performance problems because it's new, appeals to a limited audience, and may not have a proven practical application. Yet, disruptive technologies are flowing in fast, very fast. We now need someone who could grasp all this and make sense out of it. We need a new normal from the programmer and the consumer end as well. I see this coming from the teenagers, and I see that you elders have an important role to play in making this happen. Teenagers are far more capable than being active or actively engaged on social media. They can also be a student, but they can also do more. It is much, much easier to make whatever a teen may want. May it be their dream game, a piece of music, or even their own ideal art. The advantages that the younger generation has as opposed to the older ones is that we can now toggle between the as-is, which is the problem itself, and the prototyping, or sandbox environment. Whereas the older generation could only toggle between the as-is and the to-be. The reason not many games were made back then was because the cycle of development was too long. Some even had to run the code mentally before it even reached the testing stage. Some examples of prototyping tools are Scratch and App Inventor. Scratch, to test out your ideas and see the results instantly, and App Inventor, to test out your ideas on an Android phone. Some of us may see programming as an exotic, difficult, and monotonous activity. But in real life, it may not be so. If we visualize, even the simple activity of sleeping or eating can be directly linked to programming. For example, when a teenager's mother tells them to go to sleep, she does not say, go to your room, lift up your duvet, get inside your duvet, go through the several processes of sleep. She just says, go to sleep. And that sleep is a function. Einstein stated that mathematics is the language of the universe and deeply believed that nature organizes itself in the most efficient and beautiful mathematical expressions. For example, the Fibonacci sequence and fractals. The challenge is to develop the ability to identify it. The same truly applies to programming as well. There are several advantages of children making games as opposed to adults. One is that we will get the most imaginative and interesting storylines. We will get a completely different type of gameplay. It is like teaching 12-year-olds how to become a doctor. Imagine the breakthroughs humanity could make if children could come up with creative solutions to life science problems. Imagine you could be a superhero. What superpower would you pick? Yeah, telepathy and walking on water are pretty cool, but the power to take an existent object and change it for the better of the world, the power that the younger generations can do what a group of 40-plus-year-olds could do in a decade in just a year, is truly a superpower. Thank you.
Thank you, Leo. That was great. We have a lot of questions for you. One is, in the previous talks, there was a separation between the producer of experiences and the consumer. In talking to you and in your talk, I don't see that split. There's not a split between a producer and a consumer.
Yeah, because the consumer can also be a producer as well. It's not that he or she is limited to just being a consumer. It is much, much easier. It's just simple drag and drop and just color-coded blocks.
Yeah, that's great. You work with a lot of kids. What is a hindrance to coding? Or is there when they're young? If they start young, what do they bring in when they come into your classroom? What self-image problems or what self-image blockers do they have? And then how do you work with that?
Because the thing is that adults generally tend to be more closed-minded and not as imaginative. This is a general statement. I know that there are some exceptional artists and musicians out there. But they are more down-to-earth and not able to actually reach or innovate creative stuff. Maybe one day we might live on Mars inside a giant bubble or a giant squid. Who knows? Creativity always prevails.
So you just tap into the creativity that's there? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Because developing is the same as an art. It's like making your own music, expressing yourself. That is what you can do with programming as well.
I'm starting to see a future in which, I think it was Picasso that they asked him, when did you start to draw? And he answered, when did you stop drawing? I think in the future people might ask, not when did you start to code, it's when did you stop coding? Because if they're all kids like you and going to your classes, they're going to be coding from the time they can touch a computer, right?
Yeah, the thing is that I've got some children who are slightly dyslexic, and they also have difficulties reading and understanding. But if they draw to me and if they just use their arms or just say something, I will immediately understand exactly what they're saying and then try to make their dream a reality.
Okay. In Europe, we're looking at a new population of teenagers, well, not necessarily new, but a growing population of teenagers, refugees. Refugees coming from Syria, refugees coming. Where do you see coding and programming fitting in with these refugees?
The thing is that programming and coding is a universal language. Yes, it may be in English, but the fact that if they do learn English, they can do anything anyone may want. As you saw, there are so many Swedish apps, and helping developing countries such as Syria, and also helping their people, is one of the other superpowers I forgot to mention.
Speaking of superpowers, one last question for you. What's your big dream? Where are you going?
Well, my big dream is that I do not go to university. The thing is that hopefully by the time I am at the age to go to university, all universities would be online. So far, MIT is the only one who has put some of their low-level courses online. I hope in the future more are to come.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you, Leo.
Thank you.